Can you move it up or maybe?
Is that better? No? Is it on?
Yep, that's on. And they can hear you online. Let's see.
Sorry.
Oh,
Here, put it to the front.
Hey, that's in the front.
Well, you know what, I can do that.
No.
Is that a little better back there, Barry?
Is that better?
It's like it's not on.
That just feel odd, like she just hit it.
That would be why.
Sounds.
How's that?
Is this better? Can you hear me? Yeah. I
Talk into it.
I don't think it has.
Hello? Oh, there you are. Way up there, put it on your turtleneck.
I'm kidding.
Oh, that sounds sexy.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, that's it.
Oh, there we go.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, there you go. Go.
I really wanted you to come on front. There he goes. Oh, no.
You know, that's a wise decision.
Okay, we'll get started. So, this is our website. As you can see, it has up here the information at the top of our address, room number, our main phone number to the front area of the front staff, and also our fax number. Our email shows up here at the top also. I'm sorry, this is kind of a crazy little mouse. Which is looked at daily. So that's our main email address. You can see that there's headers up here that if you if you click on each one, there's information that you can access, and I'll cover some of that here a little later. I think the first thing I'll start with is kind of how we do searches. And we kind of say that less is better when you're doing a search, like for an address. If you have like a direction, we kind of recommend not putting the direction. But a lot of times it will not return a search. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and put in an address here. I thought I could get by without every perspective. Okay, so I'm going to put in the address I'm putting in is 5104 Northeast Rio. So put in 5104 Rio. Because like I said, less is better. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And this will take us to our web card, which is amazing. It has quite a bit of information out here. And we have, the headers up in the gray, so you can see the location, which basically would tell you the address, DP, GP, tax billing group, who our appraiser is for the area, the phone number. We have a link here to a status link. So basically what this is if you click on the active, if there's anything that has happened with this parcel as far as a division, consolidation, any type of history for the parcel to show here. And if you can see, this parcel was created by a division. It went from one parcel under the old, I'm sorry. It went from this old parcel and was split into these new parcels. So if you click on that active, it'll give you a little bit of history of that parcel. Of course, if it's blank, that means that parcel's been active for quite some time.
So that one piece of land has been put into all those parcels?
Correct. Great. More than likely what that is a plat. So a plat was developed out of that parcel. So I'm gonna try back. I'm so sorry, this is a little jumpy. Okay. I wonder if the arrow. Okay. I mean, it's just kind of like, we're done. Okay. So then we'll scroll down to the web card. Maybe. And then you're gonna see, as it says, it has the headers at the top. So it's map and current photos. So basically it'll show your map of the property with your photo of the home. You can access other maps by going here to bigger map. Polk County GIS is actually the auditor site. You can go to their site to view the property also. You can then access Google or Commentary. We will be actually having another viewer added sometime right after the first of the year, the street smarts. So you'll be able to get, the view from, the road view.
That's kind of like Google Maps when you
Yeah.
drive up and down the street. You can zoom in on the house to look at the condition. You can see three sides of the house. You don't see the back. You can measures real accurately.
Is there an aerial view too? Site.
Well, aerial views already.
Yeah, but we already have that. This will be more like a road view.
Yeah.
Oh, like a road view.
Be street view.
Yeah, they took pictures late spring and summer this year. Well, originally we were gonna do it like once every 6 years, but I think it's gonna be in big demand. Local governments in Polk County get to use it for free. It's through our office, but it's all cloud-based, so there's no software they have to load. And all police, fire protection, public works, all those can utilize it. I'll probably do it once every 2 or 3 years.
That'll be great. That's pretty exciting.
Question. So you've got 4 choices there. What would determine that I pick one over the other?
That's a good question. The bigger map really kind of stays within, our website. So it, would just be, and I'll put that here.
So let's say in particular, if I try and decide this between Polk County and Pictomer,
Pictometry.
Yeah. What would be my advantage to pick one of them?
Well, pictometry, you could do like the aerial view. I mean, what the, I
That's
don't
one
know.
where.
Yeah, that's this one.
The commentary is an oblique view. It's not quite 45 degrees,
Okay.
but you can go around all 4 sides of the house.
Yeah,
You can measure up and down, across. Click on the bigger maps where you can click on an aerial photograph. It's going to be ortho, it's going to be straight up and down.
there's a pictometry view. And then there is measuring tools too that you can do, the different.
You can actually measure a lot.
Can you measure the floor?
Yeah.
Or is it, yeah?
Yeah, we can measure. We take those photographs every year, so it's pretty much up to date.
Great.
So then, why would I choose between just what comes up on when you first get on versus Polk County? Are the pictures different somehow, or are there different tools?
Well, I think there would be better tools, I mean, from like this aerial. Like if you go to our bigger map, it's gonna give you, we have dimensions, but it will give you the bigger map too.
Yeah, I've used that for down there where you're saying Polk County GIS.
Well, that's the auditors, yeah, that would be the auditor side.
So then I'm just asking, are they using the same pictures or are they different?
Well, they would be the city.
Yeah, these are photos.
So
So see,
I'm
here
just trying to
you
decide, why would I go over there and pick that side?
I never go to the site. So
I mean,
honestly, I don't.
No, that's fine.
different features.
exactly, it's
Different
just
information.
easier, it's just really probably what you are looking for. But the original map that we show, if you want to, get in further detail, you would then pick whatever would probably search or take your interest of
No,
what
that
you're
was the
looking
answer.
for.
I use what you're talking about. but
Yeah.
I use.
And I'm like,
Gone over to the other one. It's like that.
and I'm like, Randy, I never go to the auditor side. I just use ours because we have everything.
Sure.
There,
What I
right.
use it for is measure. So the oblique or the pictometry one where you got the angle, you can measure on that. If you're doing the straight up and down one, you got the roof overhang, so
Right.
you can't really do a really accurate job of measuring like you can with the
Okay.
respect.
Thank you.
And then here you can see too, when you go into the bigger map, it'll give you the measurements. And then if you do the aerial. We have current 20.
So that's about a year or two, so if you want to go back historically and
Right.
see what was there.
Oh, that's the year.
No, I like the map system.
And you keep them all, the old ones in there?
Yep.
Wow. You could spend days in this thing.
Well, some of us have a life.
I know, but wow.
What's that like, Barry?
I don't know.
It's one of imagination.
So there's the aerial. You click on that.
Oh, sure.
Like, it'll find the cursor again.
So we'll go down here. And then here, like it says, you have links and info, and then I'll kind of cover this, I'll go over this a little later. Or some of it, but here is where you can estimate your taxes link, which is a great tool. It puts in, what the rollback is, or the rollback is usually done the 1st of November, set from the state. So, if we don't have it at the time, you know, and by November 15 values, we do an estimate for the rollback. So you can always do a what if you click there. You can put in, you know, what, you know, you think the value might be, and you can change it up with the land building if you want to add a homestead. Let's say you think the client might be in the military. You can change all of this, estimate your taxes, and then it will calculate with what the values you put in there and the credits that you added.
Okay, this is a dumb question, but this is 2022, 2023, right?
This right here, yeah, it's 2022 assessment here payable in 23, 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we-
And it'll tell you right up here.
Right. But that's the texture, because when we do estimate of proceeds. Okay.
Yeah. And then your full values here, which is, like I said, it's taking time to roll back to get to your taxable value. This is your levy rate, which will get you to your gross tax. And then if you added that homestead credit for your estimate, it'll then come down to your net. And as it says, it's paid in 2 installments. You can also just go over and select a year. And then you can do whatever year you want to. So if you want to do 2022. You know, I'm really better with the math. I don't know. Then once you select that, it's going to bring it in and it will estimate your taxes out of it also.
I'll get down this for a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is for this information.
Yeah, I like that page because I put it in my presentation and they can see what the areas are.
Oh, great, yeah.
I'm trying to explain all that.
It's very,
Very visual.
it's hard to explain.
Oh, yeah, it's the hardest.
It is, it really is.
I need to read
And
it.
that's a good page.
That's a good point.
We're gonna get here in an hour. This thing. I can't do it. Oh my God. Maybe is it because people online?
No, I think it, just because we're seeing it on that screen and we're getting a little lag from the actual. Here, the little one, but-
All right, let's keep back the address. You also can, you can also get to the treasurer tax data from here, if you, what the taxes are for the property. If you go over to, tax installment, this would give you for what is currently due, what's due past September, what is due in March. And it'll give you, what each installment is due for each period. If you want to view more like in a detail of the tax statement, you can go up to tax sale information. And then, apologize, actually, but the real estate here. And then you would want to go down here to this little section where it says view tax calculation. And you'll click, they call this a taxi tag is what they call tax authority group. And any parcel will it'll fall into a city or a township. So usually it'll start out with that information at the beginning and then whatever school district that it's in. So you'll need to click on that tag, that tax authority group. And then it's going to come up and give you the breakdown of the value of the property tax. So right here, you'll see the full value, your taxable value that's after the rollbacks applied. It'll show you again the tax rate for that city and school. Homestead, any type of credit that would be applied to this, which then takes you down to your net tax. And then that's divided into 2 installments.
And you can check payment history if someone's late.
Yes, yeah, it'll show up on here too. Or tax sale, I can't go tell on the tax sale, but it'll show up there in the tax sale on it too.
Pull up a list of all the properties that are on a tax.
Not here, that would have to be through the treasurer's office, because all the tax sales that actually go through there. Okay, so then as go down the page, you see that there's legal description, mailing address. This is where we use the mailing address. It's actually kept by the treasurer's office updates this, but this is what we use when we send out our assessment goals or information that's sent. Usually use the mailing address. Actually, except for when we do reminders for homestead, we can use the property address, but for most correspondence, we'll do the mailing. Here you see the current values. Any type of adjustment that is to the property will show here, but if they have a military, it would show here, family farm, any type of adjustment to the full value. Zoning information, land, here's your resident record, your sketch of the residence, the dwelling. We show the sale records, ownership transfers for the property. And then, of course, historical values. There's quite a bit of information on the card.
I have a question, but how do you determine condition? Like it'll say normal, above normal. Is that something the assessor just puts in after they've been to the home?
Usually, yeah,
Is it just,
after they go up and check.
what are the rankings? It's above normal, normal. Do you ever put like below?
It's below normal, poor, and very poor.
Oh, there's very poor. I did not know that.
We have some very poor.
Okay, great. Very poor. I didn't know
There's
that.
excellent, very good,
Excellent.
normal, normal.
Okay.
But that was decided at the last time we were at the property. We just made it to-
Gotcha.
We don't really have the property
Right,
And that's the rest of the.
right.
Are you guys still recording these or data?
Oh, yes.
So what happens when you call us and tell us? we
Yes.
find your basic
I call
condition,
Brett
we
all
don't
the
have it?
time.
Yeah, they got basement finish, we don't have it, please call us.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, but you can. You know, you're glad we do, right? If we, I mean, sometimes I've sent
absolutely.
photos in and, okay.
Yeah, the first sketch is wrong, you know, and it's gonna hurt your listing. A lot of times you call us and we'll try to get that corrected on the website, you know.
Great.
Uh,
How long does that usually take?
Couple days. Yeah,
But the MLS requires that you use whatever information you have at the time. You know, when you're doing your listing, has to be whatever the MLS, whatever you say it is on the MLS. We can call you and tell you that the basement finish or the square footage is wrong.
Then you just change it, right?
But we have to use that, what you have on there.
Well, the
once it's
MLS
she listed, yeah,
requires that the above grade finish and then the total square footage reflect the assessor, but the low grade finish does not have to be the same for the MLS.
So,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
where
we-
you see that under H1R.
we ran to the nearest foot on the house. So we're never gonna be exactly what the developer has, or the builder has. We tried to work out a deal with the MLS probably 20 years ago. Give us your data, we'll compare it to ours overnight, each night. Anytime there's more than a 3% difference in square footage, we'll go out and have somebody look at it and have the problem solved within a week out on our website. And they turn us down.
But if someone doesn't, say a homeowner doesn't pull a permit, they add a bathroom, there's no way you know it. Then if we find out and call them and they don't sell, I've had clients go, great, you're gonna bust us, now we're gonna have to pay more taxes. Right? I mean, technically, if you don't know about it, you can't assess for it, so.
Yeah, the reality is we don't get into properties anymore like we used to 40 years ago when I started. We used to get in all properties, today we don't. The only time we get into a property now, there's a problem with it, they want us to see the problem. They don't show us the nice man cave down in the basement. I don't
Right.
get to see those.
I went back to our, the search page. And, get this. Okay. So here you can, I'm just gonna kind of briefly go over this again. You can, like it says, you search by street address, last name, plat name, or if you have the parcel or the G, you can search by that. You can cut and paste, any information in here. I went ahead and copied the address, so you can paste that in there, so you can do that on any of these, fields. If you go to this link here, and you can get all the, streets of Polk County alphabetically.
Oh my gosh, it's fast.
It's possessed, no problem. I read my world today.
Maybe that's.
Too bad.
I might try that out. Let's see, so then, if you click on the plat also, I'm just gonna show you here, if you click on this link, it will also bring up all the plats in Polk County alphabetically. These little information, these little question marks here, if you click on those, it's gonna come up and tell you in detail how to use, these fields and how to, what you can type in to get, like if you want to do a range of homes, you can use wildcards. They're very, very detailed as far as, how you can use these fields and what you can enter. It gives you information on that.
Where did you click?
If you click on these little question marks, it'll go into detail on how you can, what you can enter into these or how you can do searches. For example, with the address. You can do a colon in, so I could go in and do like 5,000 colon to 5,200. My Rio, hit enter, and it's gonna come up within that range, all the addresses, and then I could hopefully find the property that I'm looking for that way.
But using a dash will not work, you got.
Yeah, the colon. And then, like I said, if you have questions, that honestly, those information that we have, they're very detailed and they're very easy to read and go through to figure out how to do your switches. If you want to, let's say you want to look for a property that has, find properties with Martin Luther King, all properties out there, you can use wildcards. And again, that information will be in, that question mark, is how to use these, but I can type in Martin, the percent sign for the King, percent sign, and enter, and I should get results of everything that has Martin Luther King. And I don't know this, but there's also a way you can, I'll show you this, the wild card with dashes. If you're looking for, it's gonna bring up Garfield is what will come up my results. But if you put in, the first three letters, if you're looking to look for any property that has a GAR in it, for whatever reason, and it will, if you put in three underscores, but the results will come back with any parcel that has a street address that starts with GAR and 3 characters that follow it. So I'll show you what that is.
Like a garden.
Yeah, there was a garden, so here would be, yeah, and then down here, as you can see, we have go back to.
Okay, so let's say you wanted like Garfield, do you do 5 underscores after the GAR?
Yep.
You put how many fields of letters?
Right. I only did 4, but yeah, I was great. I did, but yeah,
Same thing.
but it's the same.
I have trouble finding what, people's names that are in a trust.
Oh.
So how do you find?
Usually if it's in a trust, which one? Oh, okay, so right here, there's one, you see this Devin and Samantha. You would have to search this under the last name field. You would have to know how the trust is set up. So, a lot of times the trust is set up as John Smith Revocable Trust. And if there's no trustees listed, then you would have to go to the last name field and type in John Smith. And that's how you would find that, because we enter it as a business name, and business names are searched under the last name field. If he wasn't listed also as a trustee, then you could go in and search Conlon Nevin, and then it would come up. I'll kind of show you how. Let me see if I can find that.
So last name, if you put the first name in there.
So like right here, if you are looking for any type of business or a trust listed like that, you would type Nevin. Was it open? I think. And then enter. And there it is.
Oh.
Thank you.
And see, he's also listed as a trustee, so if you knew that, you could go in and search by last name, first name, and it would come up that way. Sometimes they don't list trustees, so you have to go to that last name field and put it in, enter it like a business.
What about, when people are buying in like a condo situation, that it has the name of the developer at the home?
To find out who has the,
Yeah.
because we don't have the individual, if it's under, if they're like, renting the condo and it's under the business name, we don't have to list who owns each
Yeah.
rented parcel.
No, they own it, but it's under like the developer's name that you have to dig to find.
Why would it be under the developer's name?
That's what I'm confused by. Like my friend sent me a new Christmas card and they're in that bookie.
Oh, 37.
37.
Yeah.
It's still listed as,
Oh,
Oh, 3750
Yeah,
grand.
everything
It's a condo, bookie owns it,
They all
so
close
they
on
haven't
that.
delineated who owns what.
Yeah, that's the works.
Oh, okay.
And that has been
Okay.
split up, yeah.
Underbuild. Mhm.
So if you do find that, and if there is something that you know that there's supposed to be individual units or ownership, a lot of times it's because it hasn't been worked. It hasn't been processed through, from the auditor to our office. I know that was it.
Yeah, because I get to keep the envelopes. I'm like, oh crap, I already sent them something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, okay. Now, okay, so I had mentioned earlier about these tabs up here. And I'm gonna get on some of them. This property search tab. There we go. You can, it gives you different, links how you can search also here. I like to go into this general link. And the first search that I showed you is basically the easiest, simplest way to do a search. If you want to get into more detail, bring in more like on your results, this is where I would recommend you go, is to the general search. You can pretty much narrow it to what, you would want to do your search and what you want to see. We have a results page that if, let's say, I just use the example of if you wanted to do mailing for some reason, you could, go here, pick all the information in regards to our mailing address, and then use your criteria, what you would want to bring up to see for that mailing. If you want to mail to everybody, like maybe all of them for whatever reason, you could do that. It'll come up in here after we hit form search and you would view the results for that. I'm going to show you kind of how maybe if, let's say for instance, all you knew was like the plat and the legal description for a property, and you wanted to get to the address of the property, you can go here to under legal and, if you get to the plat, the parcel that I've been using, it's North Prairie Den, plat 4, lot 1. So you can start typing here. And as you can see, all of our plats start showing here. And then, and as I type, it narrows it even further. And so there's my Prairie Den, plat 4. And so I'm just gonna go ahead, click on that. And then I'm gonna come down to my results, and I'm going to pick the legal beginning. Maybe. And then legal plat name. And then I'm gonna go ahead and perform search. And then all the parcels that are in that plat appear now in my results page. And I'm looking for lot 1, so there it is at the very top. And so now I can click onto this link. And go into my web card and do it that way. You know what's gonna happen by the time.
You'll be a wizard.
Okay, now I'm kind of gonna go ahead and touch on, some of the, searches, like we would do a sales search, general, like comparable, similar property search. So I'm gonna go ahead and this time I'm just gonna put in my parcel number here. And I went back to the general again to do this because of the, more detail that you can look at.
Okay, so you're using the parcel number from that subject address from Rio.
Yes,
So I went back to that home page and looking at district parcel. You're typing it in differently because it's 180/00, and you omitted zeros and are using dots.
very good, yeah. Okay, so if you're familiar enough with how the parcel layout is, that it's structured like that, the 3 digits followed by the 5, but then it's followed by the 3, dash 3 digits, dash 3 digits. You can key it all in like that, or you can break it out and remove the zeros, delete zeros, and that's what I did. But you have to use these dots. So instead of doing the whole parcel in there, 181.00532 300-401, I went 181 and did not use the leading zeros, and I just did 532.300.401. So for instance, if you have a parcel that's in the same 8-8, which is 181 district, and let's say it's 181/05,000 is the parcel number. And then the remaining zeros, you have 6 zeros that follow that. You could go here and type 181/05,000 and get to the website. Or you could go here and type 181.5000 and get there. If there's zeros involved in it, if it's in front of the number, you can get rid of them, or if it's like the last remaining numbers, you can get rid of those. So that might be a little bit. It's just after 20 years of accounting, this is the easy, this is how, I'm just getting into it, but,
Shortcut.
a shortcut. And I think it might even, if you go to this, let's see if it says that with the, there you go. So you can get, so really, it comes down to whatever you're comfortable with, We still have staff that key in the whole number, but less, I have to do. Okay, so now we're gonna go over this. So. Okay, so basically, no matter which way you search, the easier way that we're doing our searches from this general, you still go into the same web card, same information. I'm gonna scroll down and get into the links in the middle of the page. This links and info. And I'm gonna go ahead and go to the similar property search link. So this is what's kind of neat about this. This is where you can do your criteria. Whatever, you're wanting to do a comparison for with the subject property, you can go here and choose your own criteria. We kind of do a default that we think, applies, but then you can change anything on here to make it meet your needs as far as the search. Down here again is the results page. You can bring anything in that might be beneficial for you for what you're actually looking for. I'm just going to do it real simple. I'm just going to change like the radius. This is a mile radius. I'm just going to change it just to have less results show up. I'm going to put 5, half a mile. And then I'll just change my year built to 2012. And go ahead and hit search. But of course, you're going to want to make sure you're getting good comparables for your client or for. So you'll basically on that front page, you're going to choose what really will benefit what you're searching for that subject property. So as you can see up here at the top, in the gray, it's all the information from the criteria from that front page will show up here. It also shows the subject properties DP. It's telling me that it's a distance of 5 miles from that subject property. If you scroll down, it will be highlighted in yellow. And then as you're looking at this, if you think, I just want to see maybe, there's some parcels that, you think would be beneficial to the subject property that you just want to look at about everything on this page. You can go over here and click. Slowly. And I'm going to click the subject. So once you pick the parcels that you think would be, good comparable, and let's say, like I said, you want to get the rest of this off of your screen, you could check the parcels you're interested in, keep this as unchecked and to hide, and if you apply these changes, just those parcels will come up, and then you can just do those. If you want to do a side-by-side of these parcels, you can do checked and go down to the inventory comparison, hit apply, and you can Maybe, you know, it might not be too, such as I try that.
You have time there that.
Oh, did I have that?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, I thought I had picked it. You know what? We're just gonna go back out. Okay, so I have my parcels selected again, I believe. Yep. So I'm gonna do a side by side. So I'm gonna do checked. And now I'm gonna come over and do this drop down and do resident comparison. I'm gonna do it. I think it was too much to do it right off of that query, so you're gonna have to go back out. So
No.
here,
But that's a good page.
yes, and here you can look at this side by side. And then you can scroll down and see, you know, are these good comparables? If not, go back out to that main query and start all over. If you, for some reason, want to save this off into Excel to maybe look at it later or manipulate the information, you can come up here and there is a little icon up here that will save it to Excel. So if you do these searches, you bring in maybe 5 more, you can bring it all into Excel and then review it.
May I add something?
Sure.
What I found by playing with that was if you're doing like 3663 grand, that in your criteria is there, you can pick where the condo is located, you know, top corners or not. And I had to do it for a trust company. And then you can actually, if you pick your, like you said, 5 years, for example, it'll show you your last 5 years sales.
Oh,
And
right.
then I sorted it by address, by unit, by
Yes,
corner,
absolutely.
and I had the last, for each floor, on each unit, I had the last 5 years of sales. So they could see the difference between a lower unit, a higher unit, and a corner unit versus the middle one.
Great.
They were very impressed with it.
that, right? Very good.
I was too, because I didn't know I said that.
Of the things you can do, right? I think I'll just go with this. I'm kind of. I know you want to get. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly show you the sales search. It's kind of the same, idea as similar, except for these will be sales. Same thing will show up, what we default to as far as our criteria. You can do whatever you want as far as adding, anything into the results pages. You know, any, you know, if you residence type, you know, change it to year built. I'm just gonna go ahead and run this, save it to playing, just kind of show you the results. So again, it'll come up in the gray area, all your criteria from the front sheet. It still lists the subject property at the top. It says that the results came back with 72 records. If you click on these sale dates links, it will show you the property at the time of the sale. The information, what do I say, just the characteristics of the property at the time of the sale. And this will not highlight the in yellow the subject property. It actually really doesn't even show up here. It just knows that this up here is your subject for this sale. But let's just pick 3 parcels here.
You can sort by date, which is really.
Yes.
good.
And that's a good point, yeah, because up here you have, and I did not cover that, but you're right. Up here, these little double arrows, if you click that, it'll sort those columns however you need. very good. Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna pick. And so now if I do my, check. And then go ahead and do my comparison. And then apply my change. The subject property will come up here in yellow, and then you can do your comparisons. And again, you can manipulate it in Excel if you want. You have that option also on the results page too, that you can come up here and you need a CSV file, or if you need, you know, bring it into Excel, you have those icons there too that you can choose. It's very low. Okay, so then, if there's one more search. And it's, this map, area and grid, it just basically is parcels that are, recent sales within an 8-mile radius of your subject property. And it basically comes up, it lists all the parcels, it'll list the parcels below. But up here in the map itself, the ones that are highlighted in blue are within an 8-mile of your yellow subject property. And it will show you current owner address as it shows on the screen, the value and sale price. So it's kind of a quick overview if you want something, you know, within your area, look at properties close to the.
Does it show the date also? Date of sale?
Date of sale, yes, it does. So don't click that. Just click that. Again, I don't know. I'm going to go up to this downloads, and I'm not sure if this is something you'd be interested in, but I'm just going to kind of quickly show you. You can go here to this residential download, and you can do a well, as it says, inventory by neighborhood, jurisdiction, or entire county. I'm going to go ahead and do the 2022 sales. And so basically, it'll tell you instructions on how you can save this. But if you click here, basically what it is all the sales within all of them for 2022. And all the information that will show up here is every characteristic that you find on our parcel or on our website or web card per parcel. So if it's something that you're interested in, you can go here and you would right click on this text for whatever city township that you're interested in, right click and save it out to like your desktop. Then you can bring it into Excel and then manipulate the columns. But you will get every characteristic out there on those parcels, like what you would find, like I said, on the individual web cards. I'll just click onto it just to see. So there's all this information.
That's why you put it in the cell.
Yes. And then, you know, and I guess I'm not sure if it would be a need for you, but it's there.
Wow.
Did you do it by plat?
Not here. This is all by town, you know, a township, city, or the whole county, or like the neighborhood. But the plat information I would, you know, should come up, because like I said, it's, well, I wonder if it's in there. Well, if you're wanting though to look by plat, I would suggest probably go to the search engine, the main search. And if you know the plat name, you can key that plat name in there, and then it's going to come up all the parcels that is involved with that plat. And then you can, from that search, bring it into Excel. But you won't have this kind of information. It'll just basically show you, yeah, and the parcels. All right, I'm gonna go. Oops, go back to our first search screen that we were on, this home will always take you back here. You can see that there's some links here off to the side. You have your homestead, military, disabled vet, business property tax credits. If you click on one of these links, like for instance, homestead, it will take you into all the filing requirements, as it says, how you're eligible for the credit. We have the application that you can click on, and it's fillable. You can then, down here, it tells you can either email it to credits, you can mail it in, if it's our mailing address, you can walk it in, and you can also fax it. So for, one of your clients, if they need to apply for homestead, it's here on our site, and it's very easy access to. You can get to these other links, like as you can see, for military and disabled vet from here, or if you come back out to the home, you can, again, same thing, click here, it's gonna bring up your requirements and access the application for all of those. We have a link for appeals to the Board of Review. If you have a client that needs help, or that wants to protest their values, we have information on how to go through that. And we have links to the protest forums here.
And what links that under?
This was under, here, if you go to our home,
Okay. This one, yeah,
and it is.
Okay.
Yep, right there, appeals to the
Got it.
Board of Review.
thank you.
And then we also have a link for tax abatements, again, for information on those. And it gives you the years, the cities, and information, phone numbers to call if you have questions on those. A lot of people think that it starts with the county on those tax abatements, but it has to start with the city first. You have to apply there. Okay, and then I think last, I just want to kind of show you here under the assessment. See, and that's just it. It's so hard because there's just so much information, and I just feel like I'm kind of rushing through it. So I do apologize if it seems that way, but it's a great site, and I just encourage you just to go out. And our office, if you have questions, we're very helpful. You can call and we can walk you through whatever you have questions on. But I just kind of want to show you, we do have a newsletter that we do quarterly. And it's just really neat. It just it touches on things that's going on with our office in the last few months. And Randy puts this together. It's very informational. It's a very good read, but it is out there. I just kind of wanted to show that to you. And again, that's under assessments.
Oh, that's fun.
And let's see. Yeah, it's under real time. It's very. And then, and just real quick too, just with your, up here in your tabs, exemption and credits, this might be kind of, you might be interested in this. It just shows you what our adjustments are, what the auditor, and basically what that is, if you click assessor adjustments, these are all the exemptions that we apply to the property. So basically it's family farm, religious exemptions. You can go here, if you click on the links, it's going to give you an explanation of that exemption. It's going to give you the link to the form. It'll take you to the Department of Revenue to get to the form itself. It gives you code information on it. And these are assessor adjustments, which means that we apply it to the 100% value. And then that value then is adjusted because of these exemptions. The ones that are under auditor exemption, or I apologize. Yeah, auditor adjustments. There is more like, the credits, your homestead, family farm. These are credits that all the applications come through our office, but these are actually applied to the property tax instead of off the 100% value. So after you get to your net property tax, that is when the homestead is applied, family farm, is applied to that net tax, or to the full tax. And then it's subtracted to get to the net property tax. Military is an exemption. It's actually, a value of 1856 that's actually taken off the, taxable value. Is how that is actually applied. And then if they do fall under the disabled veterans credit, they owe no tax. So. And I think that's really.
Is there a section there where it talks about elderly?
The elderly income credit, that's actually, handled through the treasurer's office. And there is like a income requirements, and they have an application through the office.
So any of those links would have a definition
Yes.
that I might understand. Like I've never taken time to see what reappraisal.
Yeah, and it would, and even, it kind of takes you back to the link that I had when I first, clicked on homestead credit. But yes, it will tell you the requirements. It goes into detail. It also, if you scroll down, it gives you the Iowa code. So I think it's a really good informational, at least to try to understand what the credit's about or the exemption. Hey, I think that's really all I have. I feel like I kind of rushed through it, but there's just a lot out there, so. Okay.
How long have you had? You talk for like 15 seconds. All right, Randy's gonna talk, maybe 20, 30.
Okay. Yeah.
One more.
No, no.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. I'm Randy Ripperger with the Polk County Assessor. I've been assessor since 2014, but I've worked in the office since 1980, so I've been around a few years. Bought a house through Don Pleasant Hill back in 1980 sometime. Can't remember very long.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Great.
So these are just the main things I'm going to talk about. The property tax cycle timeline. I think somebody said earlier it's one of the most difficult things to understand here in the state of Iowa. I got a tool that I like to use. Hopefully you can help your clients understand your timeline as well. Get into basics of assessed values, equalization. Look at some of the trends we're looking at for our 2023 revaluation, which as realtors, you guys shouldn't be surprised we're looking at going forward. Residential rollback, which is going to soften that blow. What we're going to raise through revaluation, the rollback is going to bring back more of a reasonable increase. And then talk about the assessment appeal process briefly. So this is a spreadsheet depicting the property tax cycle timeline in Iowa. It's put together by Dave Hibbard. He's an assistant county attorney. Of course, they just recently passed away, but to me, I look at this all the time. My staff looks at it all the time. Try to help you understand how property taxes work in Iowa. So each January 1 is going to be the beginning of a new assessment year in Iowa. Each year we have to assess property as of January 1st of each year. So that The assessment year is gonna be the calendar year. And this is the January 1 of 21, it's 22, 23, and so on. So for that calendar year, the assessment year 2021 is gonna be for the taxable year or fiscal year, July 1 of 21 through June 30th of 22, that 12-month period. And if your client either buys or sells a house during this time frame, then when they close, those property taxes are going to be prorated based on if you're the seller, how long you own the house during that time period. You're going to be responsible for that portion of the property tax. The buyer is going to be responsible for the remaining part of the property tax. So the buyer gets credited during closing, then the buyer has to turn around and pay the taxes when they become due. So this tax year, July 1, 21 through June 30th of 22, the tax is going to be paid in arrears. After that time period, the first payment is going to be September 30th of 22, due date. The second half is going to be March 31st of 23. So right now, we're still in this property tax cycle right now. We've already went through the first half of the payment. The second half is going to be due next March 23. So from start to finish, from when we assess it, January 1 of 21 down here to March of 23, there's going to be 27 months involved in that whole process, that cycle. We're also in January 1 of 22 property tax cycle as well. That's going to be for the tax year, July 1 of 22 through June 30th of 23. We're kind of right halfway through that tax year. When we get done at the end of June, the tax is going to be due September 30th of 23 based on the assessment of January 1 of 22. So I gave a copy of this to Martha.
Yeah.
Do you guys want this spreadsheet to share with your clients? By all means,
Yes, please.
you can surely use it all you want. You can come up here and change this year. If you click on that cell, you're going to have that date. Keep January 1, keep that the same, but you can change the year to whatever year you want to start. All these other numbers then automatically change. If you get to mess it down in here, then you're going to screw everything up. So that's the only thing I would change is that first year. Okay.
That's great.
And that to me helps me because it is confusing when you're thinking of the assessment year. We're going to come out here next year with assessment year 2023 evaluations. I'm going to talk about in just a minute. It's nice for your clients to know they're going to get a big assessment here when they're going to start paying taxes on that assessment. Okay. Questions about that? So I put this in our annual report. These are some important dates in the property tax cycle. One of the main ones is April 1st. If we change the value in any year, we have to notify the property owner by April 1st. So next year is going to be a revaluation year. We're going to be mailing out probably 185,000 assessment notices. This is our deadline. We have to mail before this day, April 1st. We also have some appeal timelines I'll talk about just a little bit later. But this kind of goes through all the way down the 27 months that I talked about earlier. This is just a different way to look at it. Should go back to here. This 22 assessment now is for this time period in here. The local government starting next month in January are going to start developing their budgets based on this value. And then we all have to come up with our own levy rates, you know, cities and schools, the county, broadlines, Area 11, the assessor, we're all taxing authorities. That whole budget process is going to start in January next month. So if you're concerned about property taxes rate increasing, you have to go to the budget meetings and participate. You know, don't blame it on the assessor.
Are those two slides available as well?
Yeah, you got the whole PowerPoint.
I think so, yeah.
I gave the whole PowerPoint to you as well.
Thank you. All good. Thanks.
That's true.
We'll leave some business cards too.
Yeah.
In case Martha's screws there. So our basics, just Code of Iowa, about everything we do spelled out in the statute. We have to follow the law. This says, the assessment of real estate is going to be the value of the real estate January 1st of the year of the assessment. So every year, January 1st, we assess property. The year 1981 and each odd numbered year thereafter is going to be a reassessment year. But every odd numbered year, we have to reassess all property in our jurisdiction. We did in 21, 2 years ago. We're getting ready to do it for 23. All properties are going to get reassessed. Okay. And that's just what reassessment means. I think you guys said earlier. It means we have to revalue all property in our jurisdiction every 2 years, every odd numbered year. Okay. And then the impact of that biennial reassessment cycle that we have in Iowa, our assessment basically remains flat or static through that whole 2-year period between 2021 and 2023. Our assessment's probably on over 90% of the properties don't change. So if you go look at your assessment today, it's going to be the same as it was January 1 of 21. It hasn't changed. But what's happened in the market since January 1 of 21? All you folks know what's happened, right? Our assessment's been flat, the market's been going like this, right? So we're always behind the market with our assessments. And most of the time, the assessments go up. Sometimes they go down like they did back in 2011. I think we decreased our residential property over 5%. In 2013, we decreased them again here 3 or 4%, something like that. But we're always chasing that market. So we're always behind the market. Here we set today, December of 2022. We're really almost 2.5 years behind the market. That half year becomes, when we did the 21 assessed value reassessments, we had to look at the sales back in 2020. And all those sales really were effective as of July 1st. So for 6 months right there that we're falling behind when we first sent out our new assessment notices. So right now, today, we're about 2.5 years behind what's happening in the market.
So in other words, we're gonna get whacked.
And that's why.
Get ready.
That's why the public, when they look at that, really don't know what the property.
Yeah. And we'll get into the rollback, which is going to soften what we do big time. For residential property, commercial property, not so much. Commercial property is really going to get hit. Which means tax burden is going to shift away from residential to commercial property owners. So how do we assess property? We have a market value standard. Properties be assessed at 100% of its actual value. The actual value is going to be the fair and reasonable market value of such property. Then we have a statutory definition of market value, the fair and reasonable exchange. A willing buyer, a willing seller, both are knowledgeable, all the facts pertaining to the property. Neither one are under any duress to buy or sell. So market value is an economic concept. It's an opinion of value. It's not a fact, right? It's an opinion of value from my office. You probably have a different opinion. Everybody else has different opinions too. It's not directly observable like a sale. The sale price, you know, that sale price, the dollar amount, that's a fact. You can directly observe it. Market value, not so much. It's an opinion of value. It's an estimate. It also goes on to say we have to consider sale prices in normal transactions, reflecting market value. That goes back to that definition: willing buyer or willing seller, both being knowledgeable to the property, all the facts of the property, and so on.
Point of interest. You ever do opinion for attorneys for estate purposes? Use that definition and give your own opinion in a paragraph or two. A letter to the attorney, that they will show it to the courts. The courts will accept that opinion. Use that market value
Ah,
Market value standard, yeah.
So just a question on the word appraiser. So when I see appraiser on your website versus what we have out in the field, are they the same qualifications or they are? So they're licensed. When you have somebody that's an appraiser on the site, they're licensed through the state of Iowa.
Some of us are, it's not required
Right.
to be an assessor, but we spend a lot of money with education.
yeah, tell them how many hours.
Yeah, our continuing education for an assessor I'm appointed for 6-year terms by the conference board.
Right.
I had to have 150 hours of education every 6 years to be reappointed. 90 of those 150 hours have to be tested, or I get 70% or higher on the test.
Just like real estate.
Yeah,
So quit your whining.
so that, I figured that averages out about 25 hours a year.
That is not just a half you got there.
Oh,
We got it
wow.
going on.
So do your appraisers have the same hours you
No
do?
kidding, that's like.
That's brutal.
We just take the training on that.
Right, and we get professional designations.
That's what.
I have quite a few of my appraisers are designated, which that's a process. You have to have qualifying education.
Right.
You have to have experience, years of experience. You have to have a competency demonstration, a peer group.
Right.
You demonstrate you know what you're doing, and then there's a master examination to get that designation. So to me, that's important to me.
Sure.
I'm big on education. I love education. So we're trying to get them educated enough.
You have to do it, they have to do it.
Yeah, I'm instructor too, so I teach my own praises.
That's why I love company,
Yeah.
Get educated for it.
Good.
Thank you.
So this is really important because, like I said, market value is not directly observable. The best proxies that we have for market value are these sale prices of property in normal transactions. So we spend quite a bit of time validating and verifying our sales to make sure they meet the statutory criteria, the definition of market value, willing buyer, willing seller, that kind of stuff. So sales are extremely important in what we do as far as how we assess our properties in our jurisdiction. Polk County, we have a lot of sales. I mean, I have over 8,000 sales in 2022 that I can use for a 23 reassessment. That's a huge sample. We're pretty fortunate here in Polk County to get some of the smaller jurisdictions. They don't have the sample size or they do meaningful evaluations and adjustments like we do here in Polk. So it also tells us type of transactions that we should not take a look at, like foreclosures or forced sales. They don't really meet that definition of market value. So a lot of times, that's what when we're about validating and verifying sales, we're taking sales out that we can't use in our analysis. And Department of Revenue does the same thing. They're the oversight agency. They oversee all the assessors in Iowa to make sure we're doing our job right. They get every sale reported in Polk County. They get a copy of it. They verify it just like we do. So we talked about earlier about appraisers, single property appraisers. They're licensed through the Iowa Real Estate Appraiser Examining Board. They appraise one property at a time, right? Usually it's one man shop, one woman shop. Sometimes they may have a helper, most times.
Right.
They're on their own. So they're basically throwing one dart at the dartboard, right? We do mass appraisal, like we're still considered a prep, we still take the same education that we both take the same education, economic theory and all that behind appraisal. Our difference is we value the universal properties, the mass properties. For us, residential, probably 170,000 parcels at one time. As of a specific date, that's going to be January 1, every two 2 years, every odd numbered year, using common data. So Danny showed you the data we had on our website. We collect that same data for every single property. You know, the square footage, the age, condition, bathrooms, garage size, I mean, all that. And then we plug those into standardized procedures. That's going to be mathematical modeling, statistical modeling. So we develop models that we use to predict value. And we can come back on the backside after we predict value and test it statistically. So really, the big difference is the scope of work. We have many people involved in this process. We're up here as a single property appraiser. It's either he or she probably by themselves. So I have a staff of 20 appraisers, support staff 8 or 9, I think. All of us kind of participate and are involved in this part right here.
So on the mass appraisal, would that be a little more accurate?
I think so.
I mean, it seems like it would be when you take, because a lot of times on a single property appraisal, the appraiser has an opinion about this or that.
I think in your line of work, the appraiser has a sale price when they appraise that property.
Yeah.
We don't have that sale price when we appraise our properties. We have a historical sale price, maybe on other similar type properties, but it's a lot easier to appraise a house if you know what it's sold for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that we do this testing that they really don't do, their test is how comparable those comparable sales are that they use. Are they really comparable or not? That's really the test that you do. And you all are really good at probably recognizing that those good comps or not. So again, the purpose of the model, we're trying to replicate the behavior of buyers and sellers in their market. And I think here, the fact we have so many sales, we can develop really good models. Predict that to do well. That's the end result. We're trying to predict probable sale price, which is market value. Our basic model we use is going to be a basic cost model. I don't know if you guys get into cost approach at all in your education. Probably not. This is basically market value is going to be your land value plus your building value. Your building value is going to be the replacement cost new minus any depreciation. That's going to be physical wear and tear, functional obsolescence, and economic obsolescence. Located next to a train track or something good, you got a good view of the lake, that's going to be an obsolescence of the into your land value. So that's a basic cost model that we have. We use a manual from the Department of Revenue that all assessors will have, we're supposed to use. But the one thing that's missing right here is probably one of the most, the biggest characteristic you look at is going to be location. That basic model doesn't have location in it, but I think you all know how important location is when properties sell. So what we do, we develop neighborhoods in Polk County. So we're going to group these properties in contiguous areas. We're going to call it neighborhoods, and sometimes we have neighborhood pockets. We have pockets within neighborhoods. We're going to develop location adjustments using the properties that are sold. Compare that sale price to that basic cost model estimate that doesn't have location in it. So that's going to give us a typical adjustment for that neighborhood. For location, we're going to apply that to every single property in that neighborhood, in that neighborhood pocket.
Is that geographical or is it,
Yep. They're going to be all contiguous. They're all within the same neighborhood boundary. So now, a basic cost model, we're going to multiply times the location factor that we developed in sales. Then we're going to use that model then to price all properties in a neighborhood, and then that whole technique, we're going to use all properties in Polk County, residential properties. But this is a market adjusted cost approach is on our website. Breaks down exactly, the number down here is exactly the assessment, rather to the nearest $100. We got a neighborhood adjustment. This is my house at 0.98, so adjustment downward 2% for the location. And it's up here on the land. The land is being adjusted by a neighborhood adjustment too. So when you run these cost reports, I don't know if you run those before, but they're on our website. Market adjusted cost report. That should match total assessed value of the property, current assessed value. So equalization is kind of a big deal because every odd numbered year we have to reassess. The director of revenue has to make sure all assessors are doing their job. So there's this tool called equalization. If we're not doing our job, the director of revenue will do it for us. What it is the director shall adjust to the actual value when the valuation is at least 5% above or below the actual value as determined by the director. And that's done by a class of property, so all residential property. The director of revenue will determine what the total actual value, market value for all residential property in Polk County, what that total aggregate value should be. And then they're going to look at our numbers. And if we're within plus or minus 5% of what the director determines, then we're in compliance with the law. If we fall outside that range, the 95 to 105% range, we have to adjust our assessments or we'll get an equalization order in the fall of 23. Right now, the director, our overall level of assessment right now is around 80%. So we're outside that 95 to 105% or below it. So we have to, that's why we're raising our values to get them so we're within this 95 to 105% range. I typically target 98%. So if you take 98% divided by that 80%, our level of assessment is going to be right around 22%. All residential properties, the total aggregate amount has to go up 22% for the 2023 assessment.
So how did that happen?
How did that happen? What?
That you're only at 80%.
That happened because the last reassessment we did was 2021. And those assessments have stayed static while the market's been going like this. You know, probably like 93% of the properties had the same values where they had January 1, 21.
Okay, with your upcoming assessment in January, I think the elephant in the room is valuations had shot through the roof, but somebody somewhere has put the brakes on. I mean, interest rates are more than double. Does that come into consideration, or are you only looking at the history?
I look at the 22, the sales in calendar year 22. January 1 of 22 through during a couple more weeks, December 31st of 22. Right now, I got over 8,000 sales in that time frame. When I look at the statistics the assessors use all across the world, right now, our overall level of assessment is 80%, 80.2%.
Really?
So we're assessing property at 80% of what they're selling for. You guys, you have to see that every day when you look at our website. You guys are, your client, you're thinking, well, the assessment way out of whack. We're out of whack because we're 2.5 years behind. In the last 2.5 years, the market's just crazy. Down here in the last 6 months, the demand's kind of fell out of bed, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the demand that you had. So we have so many sales in our sample now that what's going to happen in the last couple of months of 22, it's not going to move that needle hardly at all, if at all, because we have so many in our sample. If you're a smaller jurisdiction, it might be different. Yeah. I'm not looking, this is by far the largest increase we've ever had. I've been 42 years, ever. Not even close. It's like more than double what we've ever done.
So is the assessor's office going to board?
I'm gonna go on vacation.
Yeah, when those letters go out.
Yeah, we're gonna be proactive. We haven't made final decisions yet, we're still in that process. But you folks can help too.
So you go to 95%, not 105, right?
I target 98.
98?
Yeah. What I do still is gonna be subject to the appeal process, board review. So the board's gonna lower probably another 0.5 to 1% off that 98. So when the board gets done, I'll be at 97.5 and 97 on residential. If I fall below 95, then I get an equalization order next fall. Which we've never had one. Go back to 1980 since we had one.
Really?
Yeah. My job to do it, my job is to do it, right? So,
I wish the public could understand this,
I don't know.
because I feel like when people get this, they have no clue. They feel like oftentimes, well, I had a sale or my neighbor sold, and it's based upon, they get angry and bitter. When you're doing a much larger sample,
Mhm.
I just wish they could understand this.
Well, we're trying to, I know Des Moines has their neighborhood associations.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna be reaching out to them to do this presentation. You get outside of Des Moines, you know, I'll probably go to city council meetings, I'll probably,
We have a busy spring.
yeah.
And realtors, I mean, DMAR, hit them, like, educate us, so we can.
That's what we're trying to
We'll
do
get
too.
phone calls.
You're the second one, we just started
Yeah.
doing that. You reached out to us, we're gonna start reaching out to them,
Yeah.
you know. The realtors, you guys need to understand.
I know.
That spreadsheet I gave you at the very beginning, that's a good way to start.
And this, even just this little slide right here is great to share with them and say, I mean, basically what you said.
Here's what some assessors do. I'm at 80%. I'm not gonna raise it, they're gonna scalp me. Leave it alone. I'll let the Department of Revenue do it in the fall, because they will. And they'll take it to 100%, not 98. They'll take it up to 100%, so 22% is probably more like 24, maybe 25%. In fact, it would be 25%. 25% going from 80 up to 105%.
So whose name will we hear when all hell breaks loose? Keep yours in, but what about the state?
We have several.
But who's your state director? that does that?
Craig Paulson.
Craig Paulson.
But to me, that's still on the assessor. The assessor has a job to do, they're getting paid to do that job. They're gonna do it.
Right.
Yeah.
You should go on vacation.
Boom.
So this is what we're looking at today. I think I ran this last Friday. But this is by all the cities where we have, I mean, we only have 4 sales in all of them, so that's really not. But most of them are gonna be around, Windsor Heights is gonna be 22.7, West Des Moines 22.8. I live in Urbandale 23.9. I don't know how that happened, that should be lower.
Yeah, you're in charge.
You're not doing your job right,
I told my staff to treat me just like you treat everybody else. They thought I was serious.
I'm sure that'll be adjusted at their.
Oliver's gonna. Look at Mitchell though.
That's part of the, once you gave birth.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's part of that PowerPoint.
Yeah.
They'll be on that PowerPoint. These are preliminary, but it's not gonna move that much.
Wow.
Especially when you have big numbers here in the sample size. It's not gonna move hardly at all. Oops. These are the townships too. Then overall proposed is around 22.2% right now. What we're looking at.
So Lincoln Township, for example, shows 137%.
Well, he's only got 3 in the sample, so it's
Right.
not, I mean, probably want 15 or more in the sample before he starts giving it anyway.
So then what would it likely adjust?
probably make it the same as, well, Washington only has one. And it sold, our assessment was 50% of what it sold for. Lincoln, Clay's probably close. Douglas would be close, 42. Elkhart, they're all high, that's northern tier. What's happening there, you think?
Well, Elkhart has to really be tough. Got Andy trying to bump into it, they're trying to,
And what
Well-
here is new construction.
Anything's gonna swallow
yeah,
all of it, right? For, not all, city all.
this is.
But all these northern tier townships are right in the direction of growth, right? That's why they're so,
Right.
everybody wants to move out. With COVID now, people don't have to come in the office, or at least not as much, so they move out farther away from the city.
But you know, I went to Windsor Heights City Council last night to go along with that, where you talk about their budgets. The big ticket item that they got into is they need to buy a new fire truck. And it has to be one that will meet insurance codes. And they've been researching, I think, for a year now to decide which one to do it. The public director, fire chief, the whole bit. And they have, if they buy something now, it's probably going to take 2 years before it's delivered. They're trying to work that into their budget based on what's going to happen here. And it was really fascinating to listen to, because there aren't that many fire truck companies. And then what do you adjust to how your city's growing or not? And, but then, like I said, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, because of the lack of manufacturers, supply chain. And I just said, oh, God, I didn't know city council lived in, get into all that, you know? So,
And they're landlocked, right? That
They're
kind of hurts the growth.
right.
So they've been,
But they don't buy,
on our growth.
but if they don't buy that truck now, it's gonna be X number of percent higher.
Yep.
2 years from now, and their other equipment is that much older. So, there's interesting discussion. There's interesting discussion.
Let's talk about the residential rollback. There's gonna be kind of the saving rates for residential property owners. This started back in the late 1970s when we had double-digit increases in property values. So legislator wanted to rein that in a little bit, so they came up with this assessment limitation. Assessment limitation is going to be the total amount of taxable value statewide. The total, so every single residential property in the state, the taxable value, the total can only grow 3% due to revaluation or reassessment. What we're going to do every odd numbered year. That doesn't include new construction, just revaluation that we do every year. It comes out every year. So it's going to limit that growth to 3% statewide. So that 22% that's going to be reined back in with residential rollback. For most people, in the typical growth in their taxable value, the value they actually pay taxes on, should be around 3, 4, maybe 5% instead of the 22%. So
When does the rollback happen?
it happens when the auditor does the tax calculation.
Okay.
It's determined by the Director of Revenue every November 1st. So November, this year, it's around 56% for residential. So if we're assessing you 100,000, you're going to be paying taxes on 56,000.
Huh, okay.
That's true for just residential and agricultural property owner only. For commercial and industrial property, whatever we raise, 90% of it's going to be taxed. So we raise $100,000 on a commercial property, 90,000 will be what is the increase in the taxable value. So if these local governments keep the tax rates the same, the taxes are going to go up a lot if you're commercial or industrial. So really, the growth we have this year is going to give local governments opportunity to lower their tax rates. That's why it's important to participate in these budget hearings. And make them, you can't, this is unacceptable, you keep that tax rate the same, it's going to be a huge tax increase on all the properties.
And that was part of the discussion last night as well.
Yeah. Assessed value times rollback percentage doesn't be taxable value. The total taxable value statewide, limitation of 3% growth due to revaluation or reassessment only. Doesn't include new construction. So to me, that's important. Your clients understand your assessments may be going up 22%. That rollback's going to soften the blow quite a bit. So again, I talked about this earlier, odd numbered years, reassessment. We'll probably mail out 185,000 notices, probably more than 185. We'll probably mail like on March 30th, which by the way, March 31st is going to be the second half payment for the 2021 assessment. We went through that timeline. So they're going to be paying their taxes on March 31st, and they're going to get assessment notice the next day from the assessor saying your value is going up 22%. People are going to be hot, right? It's terrible timing, but that's the way the law is set up. People are going to be hot. So again, the appeal process, like Jenny took you through some of the protest forms on the website. Once we mail out April 1st, the deadline to mail, from April 2nd to 25th, you can have an informal hearing with the assessor. We can sit down and come to an agreement. You know, a lot of times we're wrong. Probably agree with the property owner at least half the time, sometimes more. We can enter into a written signed agreement between us two, authorizing the assessor to adjust the value. That's the only time I can change the value after April 1st. Come to this informal agreement. If you don't want to do that route, or you don't have any success, you can file a formal protest with the Board of Review, April 2nd through April 30th. If Jenny went through that, her presentation forms, how you make sure you deliver that to our office. The deadline is April 30th. It's going to be May 1st, 23, because April 30th is on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, so it's the following Monday. So it'll be May 1st, next year it'll be the deadline. Make sure you get that.
Which do you prefer, the formal appeal or the other one? Or does it matter?
Depends on your argument.
Yeah.
You know, informal is the best because you can come to an agreement, you're both happy, you sign off on it, and it's done. You don't have to come. With the Board of Review, you have an option to come in and present your evidence in person, or you can just submit it and they're going to review either way. In that case, I would prefer an oral hearing, in-person hearing, because then you can sit down and get into more detail. You can answer questions if they have questions and that kind of stuff. So these are the 5 grounds you can protest on: equity, market value, not accessible, so it's misclassified, or it's an exemption. There's error in the assessment. We have an error in the assessment. We can change it. The Board of Review can go back on prior years and change errors. As long as the taxes have not been fully paid, they have jurisdiction to do that. And fraud in the assessment, I don't think I've ever used that. So they meet in person during the month of May. They can ask for an extension with the director. Go to July 15th, which we do every odd numbered year. So our board will be in session from May 1st to probably sometime in July. Over 2 months. Day after day. Listen to these people come in and tell us why they were wrong in this subject.
So with your, with all the stats and the review processes, your error rate probably pretty low.
Typically, they get some type of relief 50 to 60% of the time. Like I said, a lot of times we agree with them.
What is it usually? What's the, like the number one?
Market value and equity. Those are the two. Error in the assessment. You know, we have listing errors, and you probably see them quite often. Or you see them, I don't know if it's often or not. Listing errors, you get those corrected. 50 to 60%, I'm talking, they may not get exactly what they wanted, or all of what they wanted, but they got some type of relief. And by the way, property tax is the only tax you can appeal the basis of that tax. You can't do that with sales tax, you can't do it with income tax. If you lie on your income tax, then you really can't appeal the basis of the tax. Okay? So I mean, we take it pretty seriously because it's a good way for us, quality control. If we're wrong, we're going to make it right. That's the way we find out that, okay, we missed this or missed that or. So if you don't like what the board determined, then they'll send you a notice. You have 20 days. You can appeal to the property assessment appeal board, or you can appeal to the district court of Polk County. That's going to carry another level of appeal. So any questions? Okay, a PowerPoint, that spreadsheet, Martha should have. Jenny and I will leave some business cards if anybody wants. Further questions?
So I have one. So you have the phenomenal website, and super links of people that take time to analyze. Why wouldn't you want to put a presentation on there for the man on the street? And then if somebody wants to dig deeper, then they can get these other links. I mean, it's pretty on the eye, you know, it's easier to understand because smaller bites. I don't know in your communication process, why you just wouldn't share that with the world.
Certainly good.
Well, I mean, is there any reason legally why you could?
Nope.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody wants.
well, I thought, you know, you're asking about for our help. Well, you say, hey, they've got a nice simple PowerPoint presentation here. Take a look at it and I'll help you out from there. I would think it would.
Yeah, because anybody who wants to understand it.
It's right there. That's well done.
It is well done. And especially when you're citing Iowa law and code.
Right.
This is factual. It's like, this was the deal.
At least they have some.
Takes
they have
emotion out of
some understanding. They don't, up until you look at this, you don't know what questions to ask. And those other links are so overwhelming. This just seems like a great introduction. Could be almost your main aid.
And it's a great argument.
I'll put it up.
Don't forget my fee.
You're buying your next house from here.
Thank you.
That's one decision on that.
Yeah, I'll definitely want the residuals for $155,000.
You know,
Thanks a lot.
thank you so much for a great presentation. Let's thank Lynn and Martha for setting this up as
Oh,
well.
thank
You guys. Just one thing, if you notice off bags that are in the hallway, Concept Cares is doing some wrapping. If you can spare some time
It's like,
to help them out, they are short wrappers. I keep running away already. They're short people to wrap and could really use some help, even if you've got time to wrap one bag of gifts, that would really be a great thing to do.
Could I give them some bags?
Do
Gift
what?
bags. Could I give them some gift bags?
No, they're doing wrapping.
Oh, okay.
So, but they're gonna be moving that down here. So if you wanna hang out, we would really appreciate the help.
Martha.
Thank you so much. There was so much in this. I appreciate it. Oh, business cards here.
Michelle, do you want to
Yes.
have it on your desk? Do you just want to get it? Is he, let's just.
Michelle, just look like that.
I'm jumping,
Oh.
let's do it. Wait, why is?
Yeah, but not yet. Oh, that's a different flash drive. If you could just share it, it's the best thing.
Yeah.
And then we'll put it into drive. Let me get you your flash drive.
Okay, this scared it doesn't go in there. Does this look right? It's like, okay.
That's on top.
Yeah,
This one. I was gonna say, is that your CH? Thank you.
Oh,
Back.
so, I don't know. I
Back
got
to
it.
that. All right, my online friend, thank you.
Just
I
for
did.
clarification, that rollback
And what did they?
of 3%, is that gonna end up lowering? Explain that to me one more time. Is it, overall taxes are going up about 22%.
I don't know.
22.
Overall, so-